Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-3. Really good first period from the Rangers. They were up 2-0, had chances to make it 3-0, and then things kind of all came undone. In the second period, Tampa comes out of the period tied, and then the Rangers actually took a 3-2 lead, but the Lightning ended up winning 6-3. One of those goals was an empty net goal, but Brayden Point ends up with 6 points. 3 goals, 3 assists. He was a +3. I mean, the thing with the Tampa Bay core is it's still intact, and they're still very dangerous. Kucherov had a goal and 4 assists. So that's the thing with Tampa Bay. Like, they aren't what they were, but this was a potential playoff preview. The Rangers won the first 2 games against them. And look, hopefully it's a lesson learned. The Rangers were coming off a very emotional win versus Carolina, so they're very entitled to what happened here. It's no real major cause for concern. But again, like, this is a team that you are potentially going to be facing in the first round. And look, we don't know that for sure. Like, with tonight's results, Carolina beat Florida, so the Rangers are 4 points up on the Hurricanes. So as big as that win was, and even more so with what happened the other night, it's still only a 4-point differential with 16 games to go. So it's not as if that's anywhere near locked, because it's not. Like I had said last episode, I think Carolina has a little bit of an easier schedule than the Rangers the rest of the way. But it's too bad. Like, there was a 2-on-1 with Panarin, where Panarin had the puck in the second period, and he decides to wait, and tries to force it to Lafreniere at the last second, and nothing comes of it. Like, you can't have that. Like, that's a situation where you gotta make sure that there's a shot on goal there, and he really should have shot it. He scores and makes it 3-0. Could be a whole different game. And if I remember correctly, that last game of the 2023 season of the calendar year versus the Lightning, I'm just going to check that real quick. Yeah, so they were up to, it was a very similar situation where they were up 2-0 after 1. Then Tampa made it 2-1, but luckily the Rangers had a quick response to make it 3-1 and 2. And that's the difference. Whereas that was 3-1, this was 2-2. And, the Rangers really were not quite ever able to recover. And ultimately, you want to stay out of the box, which the Rangers did a mostly good job of that, but not enough, as Tampa got a key power play, and that was the game-winning goal that they had. It was Stamkos. But, Igor, it's too bad his shutout streak was snapped. He was looking good for a while, just as the team was. It was a really good first period, but Tampa hadn't played in a while, so you kind of knew there might be a little bit of rust on their part. The Rangers were kind of still in the flow and the momentum of things. But yeah, like, are the Lightning a team that I think, like, do I think the Rangers would beat them in the first round? I would say that, but they won't be easy. They're battle tested, and they still have some really good players. Their depth isn't quite what it was, and you look at their defensemen, and that's really like where it's pretty weak. Whether injuries or just players going elsewhere, it's not quite what it was. So they are more capable of giving up goals than they used to. But like Tampa, see, this is where if you could somehow finish first in the conference, like over Florida, you probably avoid Tampa, and you may get someone not as tough, but then again, you can never be so sure. But that was a big thing for me, was the fact that, like, in looking at if the season ended right now, it would be Rangers Lightning. So, yeah, we might as well just jump right into it. Although I'll say, in terms of lineup wise for next game, now I always thought that Chad Ruhwedel was going to play next game versus Pittsburgh, and that much is even further true after this. He was going to play. That was going to be his first game. He was on the Penguins for 8 seasons, won a cup there, and to me, the move that I'd be making is going 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and you take Brodzinski out of the lineup. So, because, and another thing about this game, a lot of injury, a lot of blocked shots. Mika Zibanejad ended up with a face shield. He got a puck to the face, a lot of puck to the face going on. Like, Zibanejad was hurt. Wenberg blocked a shot. Panarin was slashed. Lindgren got a puck to the face. Gustafsson might have as well. Lafreniere. So, like, definitely bumps and bruises came from this game at the very least. I don't know if it's enough to take anyone out of the lineup. Assuming that the lineup is healthy enough to go, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Even though I don't love 11-7, I prefer 12-6 forwards defensemen. I think Ruhwedel is definitely in. And to me, Brodzinski is the guy to be taken out. And Brodzinski had a really bad turnover that kind of opened the floodgates. Rangers are up 2-0, and Brodzinski with a really bad turnover that leads to kind of a somewhat of a 2-on-1. Brayden Point scores, and the game changed from there. Even though you can see it kind of trending that way a little bit, that really opened it up. And, so for Brodzinski, I've been pretty anti-Johnny lately. And now I'm almost starting to think like I would rather have Edstrom. Now, Rempe aside, right? Because Rempe is suspended. And when Rempe is, back from a suspension, he would be back in there for Brodzinski, assuming everyone's healthy. But even beyond that, wouldn't mind seeing what Edstrom can bring. Hey, even, and there's a lot of other young options, but I know Tyler Pitlick isn't like anything exciting, but even I think he's done well. Like, he would probably be a better fourth line fit than Brodzinski, if we're being honest with ourselves. But it's to the point where Brodzinski kind of did well enough where he would have to be subject to waivers. And I just I don't know if they'd want to do that. He was a captain at Hartford. I think he's like pretty well respected within the organization. So I don't know if they would do it, but I wouldn't totally mind if they did. It's to the point now where in previous episodes I said, well, if Brodzinski is in for a few games in the playoffs, like no big deal. I kind of don't. That's kind of somewhat of a last resort option. Like him even as a 13th forward, like it's not the end of the world, but I think he's really more of a 14th. I think multiple guys got to be out for him to come in, but maybe I'm coming down a little bit too hard on him, but it's that was a really bad turnover, and I just feel like he hasn't been very good lately. And look, the fact of the matter is he is a good AHL player who has the quickness to keep up at the NHL level, but you can tell there's just a difference between him and the guys that are, really supposed to be there. So anyway, Rangers had a really good first period. I mean, they outshot Tampa 11-5, which is weird. That was also the same shot count from the Carolina game. And, it was like, it was almost, they were in peak form almost. They were moving the puck well. They were the better team flat out and were rewarded for it as well. So first period, at 6:21, Connor Sheary trips Alexis Lafreniere. Ranger power play doesn't score. Ranger power play had only a couple chances, but, didn't convert on either of them, which would prove costly. But at 13:58, Panarin scores his 36th goal of the season from Trocheck and Lafreniere. So Lafreniere does a nice job of kind of chipping it and causing a 2-on-1. And Trocheck shows patience, makes a nice play, beautiful setup to Panarin, who rips it into kind of an open net. Vasilevsky couldn't get over there in time, and the Rangers take a 1-0 lead. Then at 16:56, so like 3 minutes later, Rangers score again, and it's Braden Schneider scoring his fourth goal of the year from Zibanejad and Roslovic. So that Zibanejad line, certainly on the offensive side of things, with the Roslovic addition, is much better. Defensively, that's a different story, but they are just looking more cohesive and better. And so Roslovic at that point gets his first point. He wouldn't be done, but good to see Schneider score, pinching in, nice pass by Zibanejad. And Rangers have a 2-0 lead, end of 1. Second period, though, Tampa starts finding their legs, finding their game. At 9:30, Hedman slashes Panarin. So another, and before this was where Panarin kind of messes up that 2-on-1, but the Rangers have a chance to take a 3-0 lead. They don't. And after that power play expires, soon thereafter, Brodzinski makes that turnover, and Brayden Point makes it a 2-1 game. So a 12:41 point from Kucherov. And I've said this a million times on this show. And the stakes in this game were much lower. But it's so fucking reminiscent of 2 years ago against Tampa. 2-0. The Rangers were up 2-0 in the series, up 2-0 at Tampa, and they blow that lead and blow the series. So like with the Lightning, when you have a chance to put that team away, you got to put them away. If you give them any life. And this is on one hand a general Ranger conversation, and for what they've done recently, I'm not going to just totally shit on them. It's just not fair because, Rangers really have played well. It was an inspired effort versus Carolina and the second of a back-to-back. So you knew this might come, but it just sucks. Because the Lightning, they will take advantage of mistakes you make. And the Rangers had it within their grasp to put this away, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. So they made it 2-1. At 14:04, Lafreniere interferes with Brandon Hagel. Penalty kill does a nice job, kills that off. But eventually, at 18:43, former Ranger Anthony Duclair scores his 18th goal of the season from Point and Kucherov. So what happens here is Igor makes a really nice save on Point, but Trocheck kind of like slips and his skate like hits Igor's glove, and so the puck kind of shakes loose and Duclair scores. So a really bad break there. I'm not sure what happened, but Tampa ties up at 2. That hurt right there because it's like, I feel like it was important to keep that lead. However, in the third, Rangers take that lead right back. At 1:48, Jack Roslovic gets his first goal as a Ranger. His 7th goal of the season from Fox and Kreider. Nice pass by Fox. Roslovic doesn't waste much time and wires it past Vasilevsky. So that makes it 3-2 Rangers. But then there's a 4-on-4 situation. At 3:17, Dumba's called for goal interference and Kreider's called for roughing. So this is a situation where Igor was a little bit aggressive, I will say. You know, and I love that about him. Like, he takes no shit. But, like, Dumba, like, you know, Igor didn't have to kind of push him. And Dumba is called for a penalty, then Kreider retaliating as well. But the problem with 4-on-4, the Lightning are so talented. And when you're leading, you never want to be 4-on-4. When you're trailing, you want 4-on-4. And sure enough, Tampa ties it up. At 3:41, Brayden Point scores the 2nd of the night, 35th of the season from Hedman and Kucherov. And this is a play where not a great job by Gustafsson defensively, where Point's able to kind of, I wish Gustafsson could have tried to be a little more physical. And then Igor, too, I was surprised it went in. It was a really nice move by Point. And I'm wondering also if Gustafsson got a piece of that, too, trying to poke check it away. But that ties it up at 3. And then Will Cooley takes a penalty at 12:08, slashing. He slashes Kucherov. Like, that is unfortunate. You can't do that. They're the number 1 power play in the league, and they take advantage. They do. Stamkos, his 25th of the season from Point and Cirelli at 12:45. So 4-3 Lightning. Also of note in this game, Keandre Miller, a lot of turnovers for Keandre, who I think has been better lately. I like that Miller-Schneider pair, but Keandre, the biggest issue with him is the turnovers that he has are just so bad. And we've known that with him. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to change. Like, it's what comes with the territory, but yeah, it's scary. And a lot of the times he's able to make up from it for his reach and his speed, but yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Then at 14:48, Lightning score again. Point gets the hat trick, 36 goals, so he ties Panarin for Point, and assisted by Kucherov and Hedman. So this is a play where just the Rangers were kind of hemmed in their zone, and Point was able to beat Roslovic. You know, again, like Roslovic, offensively really good, defensively not as great, and you live with that. You live with it, but yeah, like Point, you know, just beat him to the spot. Too much watching, and that Lightning core. If not for anything else, this is a big game for them. Like, they're right on that playoff borderline, but I think when push comes to shove, they will get in. I think they'll get in. Not only do I think they'll get in, I think they'll get that better wild card spot. And therefore, if the Rangers win the division and finish behind Florida, you're going to face the Lightning. So tonight's result, what's interesting is tonight's result leads it to being more likely that the Rangers play the Lightning in the first round of the playoffs. And then the Lightning get an empty net goal. Laviolette pulls the goalie pretty early, and at 16:22, Kucherov scores his 39th goal from Point and Nick Paul. So Brayden Point, 3 goals, 3 assists, crazy, 6 points, and that's how it goes. The Rangers win the season series. They win 2 out of 3 versus the Lightning, but they don't win this one. And so now the Rangers will have a couple of games this weekend, a couple of national TV afternoon games in the division, one at Pittsburgh and then one home against the Islanders. So we'll see. Pittsburgh's really struggled lately. They did win tonight against the Sharks, but for the Penguins, they're kind of going through the motions a little bit. I would definitely expect Jonathan Quick in net for that one, and then Igor versus the Islanders. But yeah, hopefully they can get back, onto a winning, find their winning ways again. Because, look, the Hurricanes are still right there. And I would think that the Rangers obviously want to win this division. And, that's still very much in question, even though it felt pretty good after the win the other night. So, yeah, Rangers lose to the Lightning. Their post-deadline winning streak ends. This was their first loss when Jacob Trouba was not in the lineup. But, you move on. Hopefully lessons are learned, and now they'll head to Pittsburgh and look to turn things around. So Rangers lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 6-3.